Good afternoon. I'm endeavouring to stream again today. I'm not optimistic, given my CPU's at 100% and I've only just started, but we'll see. I mainly just wanted to go through the G's on the watch list, which I finally got around to doing. And yeah, not really have a look at the rest of the market, just have a quick look at Bitcoin and Ether at the start because I gave some entries on my last stream. So Ether went slightly through. I had a 15-minute inside the 4-hour here, went a little bit through it, but bounced. And Bitcoin, that was my entry just below where the wick came to, so it bounced in the 4-hour, but not quite at the 15-30 minute at the base that I was hoping for. So yeah, I've left the entry there on Bitcoin in case it comes back. I've also added an entry on this 12-hour demand that's just been created near the top, but I wasn't overly confident. It's just something I don't like the look of about it. But you know, the structure's messy and we're just bouncing around, so maybe if we're just going to stay in range, we might get a bounce somewhere on there. Just didn't really like the detail inside. And also if we swing fail this high, so the short entry, the first one that I highlighted in my last stream, has obviously just been hit and it's taken a wick quite deep into this hourly supply that I wanted, and I was looking for a swing fail of Sunday and Sunday's high, and then there was another wick double top on Friday into this hourly. I did say in the group, if it creates a 4-hour demand, that potentially just leave it until it basically closes back below the 4-hour, if it closes back below the 4-hour, and then try and sell the retest. So I can see what develops here, and then potentially we could go and take stops above this double top that we had from Wednesday and Friday, and all go higher, as I've always said that shorts remain lower probability because obviously we're in a fairly bullish, strong trend. Yeah, so those are the kind of immediate levels I'm looking at. If we revisit any of them, Ether, we've hit the 3-week supply, so that was kind of, my alert's gone for this. This was the first level I was looking at, but then I put the actual entry a little bit higher because there's a daily supply here that hasn't been tested, and also because Ether, the CME Ether pair, has a gap up here, and I think the wick has just taken, yeah, it's not quite at the gap yet, it's a little bit higher on the CME pair. So I guess we'll see what we get on that, and then I also added that a long entry on the 12-hour, 4-hour demand on Ether, but again, I don't love this structure, and really I'm more bearish on Ether because of the 3-week supply. But it's a challenging structure. We've got a higher low, but then we've got a big 3-week supply above, and it's a huge 3 weeks, so it can still go to 3,700 and still be bearish, or still like respect the 3-week supply. But yeah, like I say, these are just scalps within the range rather than trying to figure out the bigger picture while we're just ranging for a long period of time. So that's that. Then oh yeah, the other thing on the majors, I did add some entries, just more aggressive entries since the stream that I did yesterday, on these 3 weeks, because so many of them had 3-week supply. So EOS, I added one which has gone off, but it's just hit the 3-week supply, but I was looking for the daily a little bit inside. And these things are still very choppy and they're not strong supply, but just to see what reactions we get. BCH, I added one at 3-week supply, which is just a little bit higher here. Could take those wicks above 454, so that's a possible swing fail level to look at. Nothing on Ripple, and then I put an aggressive one on Litecoin. Just there was a small 8-hour supply here, and just for a scalp, and you know, if it gets down to this daily demand, great. So I also added a long entry on 2-day demand at just below the previous low. So I guess we'll see. BNB, nothing new, still on 3-week demand, so I just kind of wanted to wait for that. Link the same, I've kept the original short entry that I had at the daily supply that's higher than the previous high, and then also the daily demand that's lower than the previous low, so we'll see which of those if we get to them first. Pol hit the 2-week demand, which I think I talked about in my last stream, and I put a possible short on the 3-week supply. And as I said, just to reiterate, like all these 3-week supplies are really, really choppy and have a lot of choppy, so could easily take wicks through and or break, because we are potentially hitting new demands in some cases, but also they're just zones within a range. ADA I didn't put anything on because it's particularly choppy. It was very close and also hasn't broken the low. Similarly on, I think, yeah, so dot, atom and near all had 3 week supply, and I put alerts on all those 3 weeks, and they're all a bit further away. So we've had, I mean, like I say, hits on EOS and LTC, so whether or not these hit, I don't know. We'll see. And they are potentially all coming off demand, so we could just see them go through these zones. And again, remember I said the risk is that we're going to go through this 3 week to the higher 5 days that are untested, because these do all have zones higher. Most of them have zones higher that haven't been tested, so just to pull the charts out and show you those a bit. So yeah, if we do run through these zones, then I'll just reset alerts for the 5 days above. But because they're 3 weeks, I figured they were worth watching, even if they're just going to give a scalp back for another higher low or a test of the recent low. Sol has a 3 day supply, so I have put an alert there. That's a much more risky one because obviously we're coming off the annual demand. But we haven't hit this weekly zone yet on Sol, so it's possible we get a rejection there and another move down into the weekly, even if it is staying bullish. Okay, so the Gs, there's not many of them, so they should be relatively quick. GALA, let me just go up to the higher time frame. So virtually all of these, as I've just said, for the majors, have weekly, have 3 weekly supplies on them. The problem I have is, and again I've said in previous updates on the alts, is that some of them now are in monthly demand for a start, like this one on GALA, and secondly, quite a lot of them have tested this 3 week on the weekly or the 2 weekly, and they have a weekly and a 2 weekly in a similar place. And I think GALA, in fact, it's all at the same level or broadly the same level. So when it comes up for a test, you know, again, it could run through if we're in a more bullish structure. So again, something like GALA is kind of hit and miss. It will hit, not hit and miss, it's not the wrong phrase, but you know, it's made a lower high, but it does have a monthly demand. So the lower high isn't great for longs, but then the monthly demand is better. But then are we going to reject this 3 week supply for another move deeper into the monthly based on the lower high? It's possible. So again, just trading like scalps within the range. So in the case of GALA, I haven't alerted the 3 week because it's, in fact, this is a 6 month demand here. So yeah, it's not a stronger 6 month demand, but it's still a 6 month demand. So while my preference would be to go a little bit deeper inside it, it's possible this just moves from here. However, it hasn't quite tapped this 5 day, 4 day above. So again, just worth looking for a possibility of a short there. This is probably one of on the more risky side. I think most of the Gs are looking more bearish. So I guess we'll see. And from the long, yeah, I put in an alert on this 2 week inside the 6 monthly. But it could, this is potentially one that could be more bullish, so keep an eye on it. And it's just I keep looking back at previous structures, and you can see, you know, these, you know, where you would have thought it might make a higher low, no, it just keeps going down. Again, here, where you would have thought maybe it would make a higher low, no, it just keeps going down. So, and the fact this is off a lower high, it makes me think, you know, is this just going to keep going down even to the base here or to break the low? But yeah, I can't, with 6 month demand, it makes it just slightly more challenging, and a weak 6 month demand. GALAXIS. So this is obviously one that looks looking a little more bearish. On these now, we've got the monthly candles are closing in tomorrow. So on some of these, I've started to put monthly supplies in. So this monthly supply on GALAXIS is not confirmed, but is likely to create a monthly supply. It already has 2 week, 3 week inside. And I put 5 day, then 2 week, possible monthly. So again, it's just could be a bit choppy, could go a little bit up inside here. You know, there is a 2 week that's not been tested. So again, with this chop, the chop makes it difficult because you just don't know. It could reject at the bottom, it could reject in the middle, or the chop could also mean that it runs through it. So yeah, again, just need to assess the zones as and when the alerts go and as and when things are hit. So GALAXIS, obviously no longs because there's no bottom, but more confident of shorts, that just this possibly is too aggressive. But again, like I say, we have to wait and see. Gas, so this is more of a sideways one. This did have an annual demand, so it's obviously, it says had an annual demand, which is obviously tested deep inside last year, and yeah, I mean, it was a weak demand due to the swing fail of the highs. But you know, again, do I want to be shorting particularly into this? You know, and they're difficult because some of these I've seen, you know, that they look very bearish, and you sort of forget they've got annual demand, but then they just take off. So again, this is a bit of a more challenging chart with the annual zone. So it had a monthly supply, which it's gone up into and rejected off, and now we've come back into monthly demand, or already come back into monthly demand and already bounced from there. So again, I look at this and I'm just, yeah, fairly uncertain. Like, is this just going to come and break the trend line, or are we going to take off from here as it's sort of a vertical accumulation? So at the moment I've left the short entry quite a lot higher. Apparently don't have a long entry on this. I think I did lose some of my entries yesterday because TradingView was being annoying. So I think I was looking this low, I think didn't quite go into the weekly level. So I think I was thinking maybe, you know, if we just take out the trend line, we could bounce somewhere in here. Or failing that, we've also got equal lows here to go down into the monthly down there. But I think, again, I thought that was too much of a long-term picture, and with the annual demand, you know, it's possible we still go right back to the base of the annual demand. So if this is the candle that's created the annual, and we've come all the way to the bottom of it, which I'm not sure, yeah, that candle has created the annual, so we could still come back into and bounce on this weekly at the bottom here. So I'm just going to add that alert back in. Amazingly, my stream is still okay for now. It's the first time in a few days it's actually been okay. It's assuming it's okay when I listen to it on the playback. Okay, so that's the weekly demand there. And then, yeah, like I said, there was nothing in here. It's just too choppy and messy, and the monthly's already been tested. There isn't on clean 2 week, 3 week, 1 week in there. So this is something that could just break the trend line and just fall off. You know, if you want to scalp this could be potentially interesting. Just keep an eye on it if and when it hits this 3-day supply, and if that then triggers a fall off of this trend line, if the market's in the right place. It might be worth considering, because there aren't really, there's no clean zones really on any time frame here. I think it might actually be worth an alert there. So I'm going to alert this 3-day as well, because I think that could be a decent drop if it does reject there. 3-day supply. See if there's anything on the daily. Yeah, I think that's a zone that's a level that's worth watching here. You know, and potentially just watch out for a wick through some of the stops up there, possibly. But yeah, that's worth an eye, just to see if we're going to fall off that trend line. And then, as I said, a weekly down here for possible longs. Gems had a really nice bounce off the alert. I think I talked about that in my last stream when I was talking about the things I was interested in. Oh, actually, no, I think with hindsight, I think I was thinking about Gem, quite liking it, but then I didn't. I wanted to check whether it was Gems was the same as a Gem. I guess it's not, that I saw somewhere else or on Dex Screener with the Solana coins. So I wasn't sure, but anyways, so that had quite a nice bounce, but this is a nice example of something that's just come straight back up into, so it's in 2 week supply there. It's had the choppy 2 weeks on top of each other. I think there isn't a 3 week on this. And so that, in this case, highlighting the chop, so we've come back up into weekly supply, but it did come through. I think there was a 5-day or a 4-day in there. Yeah, so there was a 4-day, couple of stacked 4 days. So this is an example of what I meant, of something that might just come back up inside the zones. And that why I was it's difficult to place these shorts, and it's probably going to be difficult to take them. I think this, I mean, I didn't have this one alerted because I haven't got to it yet, but so you see it's come up to the top of this last drop there. And yeah, so now we're just really just seeing if, you know, are these, when things have tested like this, are they going to make a higher low, or is it just going to continue the downtrend to the next one? So you can start looking for longs here if there's a new demand on the 4 hour, for example, but know that you're still in a weekly downtrend. So if you try and long on this 4 hour, then there's a risk involved. But anyway, in this case of this one, because it's a bit of a cleaner chart, and so we do have a sort of dubious monthly being, it's the open of bit gap. We're in a 2 week demand, so it's possible we just bounce here. Both of these zones have been tested, so I haven't placed any new shorts on this. And even going down, so there's a 4-day up here, like all these zones have been tested, so if this is going to run, then it's probably going to run through all this supply. So but we need, I think, more time for consolidation through here. Else going lower, possible long on daily demand at the bottom of that. GHST is that ghost. I don't know what the names of these coins are. This is one that's going to create a new monthly supply. So not the cleanest monthly supply, and it is still on 3-month demand. So again, one, structurally it's challenging. This is possible that it's taken stops off the lows of the 2 previous moves off the monthly, and that it's going to run from here. You know, I had a big swing failed at the high and could now have just swing failed the low just to stay in range. However, it is going to make monthly supply unless it bounces a lot in the next 24 hours. It has a 3-week in there as well, and a 2-week. Neither of those have been tested, but it's tested the 3-week on the weekly. So again, one of those challenges. So initially I'd look here, and then there's also an untested 5-day above it. So all of these, you know, if you alert things yourself, or if you're receiving my alerts, if they go, then, you know, look for the first zone, and then if the price just runs really quickly through that zone, which is possible, if it's going to run, it will tend to do it quite fast, and then you're looking at the 5-day zone above. And then this one has a 2-month demand, and there's a 3-week level and a 2-month demand just lower inside this 3 months. So I can see if we get a bounce a bit lower if it does move lower. But again, it's just in the range, so don't be shorting this right now. Possible short on a retest. But also, you know, this could just go back up. You know, it's bouncing bottom of the range, taking lows off the bottom of the range. My chart has disappeared. Maybe we'll go up. You know, the other option is, you know, that's just going to be the bottom of the range, and it potentially can go up to tap this weekly. I think the alert went for this weekly short, but it hasn't quite hit the level, so it could, you know, swing fail those and then swing fail these as well. So that's why these high time frame charts, in some cases on the cryptos with more history are a bit more challenging. Ones with less history are easier, but then also they have the challenge. So something like this is obviously very much in an uptrend, but at some point it's crypto, it's probably going to roll over and drop 90%. Okay, so this is just a bit choppy where we are. So it's in a 3-week demand, and it has a weekly supply. So on this I have alerted weekly supply. We're just underneath, I think there's a 12-hour or something just below that. So in this case, so like I say, we are on a 3-week demand. We have come through. So the other thing to watch out for, I guess, on these is, are we going to make new? So if this could hit weekly supply here, but it could have made daily demand by then, in which case this is probably not a trade worth taking. Or if you can take it and get in on the very low time frame and then put your stop to break even pretty quickly. But you know, what you wouldn't want here is for it to go up into a weekly supply based on the fact this is a 3-week demand coming from the lows, but a weekly supply up here. Yeah, so we don't want it coming up into a weekly supply up here and just bouncing straight on the daily and then going higher, and then, you know, this taking it, you know, the weekly could still play out over time, but it could take a lot longer. Alternatively, you know, this is a higher time frame demand. Is this just going to go straight up? I would hope not. You would still want some sort of a reaction on this weekly demand, but if this is the higher low, then it's not a good risk to reward. It's certainly not a good risk to reward if you enter here with your stop up here, and then, you know, potentially having to take profit there. So, you know, I put all the alerts in, but obviously be wise about what you take or what you don't. In the bigger picture, you know, it'd be nice if this 3-week actually breaks down, if this has made an overall top. You know, it's got 3 pushes to the high now. Potentially could get one more on this actually. There's a bit of a trend line here as well. So maybe this could get one more. Some of the structures I've seen like this could potentially get another push. So again, we'll just see. I should probably say, sorry, the other thing on GIGA is, so I think I put the alert on the 3-day here, but then there is a 3-week just below that. So that's kind of the more aggressive long entry if it just picks up the breakout high and takes out those lows. Other than that, it was just really, really choppy. GLMR's one, so I think this has made an annual supply and tested it. So this closed with an annual and tested it, but I think it already had a 6-month, which it tested quite high inside. So it's one, yeah, one of the more bearish ones. Does still have a monthly demand down here, so we are getting a bounce now. But you know, bear in mind these ones, I'm still going with the bear side, you know, and at this point we also had a monthly demand. It had done a decent move up here, but straight back into monthly supply. Did have a monthly demand here, did get a bounce in it, but it didn't even, in this case, it didn't even bounce up to the monthly supply until multiple months later. So yes, well, we may get a bounce here until it gets through supply, or until it actually makes a higher high that isn't just a swing fail like here. Then it's pretty bearish. So this has also got a 3-week supply on it, so again, and it's got a bit of space to it, so this is more probably a higher probability. I think it had a bit of a messy, it's got a 5-day inside it. Can't remember what I put on the alert, but yeah. So this monthly got run through, but it came back. So yes, it's possible something like this is going to make a higher low here. And then, you know, again, it's possible it's going to run through supply and make a higher high. Now it's made a higher low. But again, we need to see that sort of major reversal across the market to be confident of something like this. However, you know, if you're an investment kind of character and you want to buy something like this, at least you're buying at the lows, overall lows. Put your stop just below the lows, and then, you know, if we do end up in some major bull run, then you're in it. But yeah, something like this, I'm not overly confident until we start getting through some supply. GLM, if it's this chart, or yeah, it is this chart. So another one with a kind of a big trend line that again could well break. So I guess similar to one of the ones I talked about a minute ago, actually. So it's got a weekly demand here that wasn't tested. I think initially my alert was more conservative on this 2-month. This is something that's, I mean, it's very, very wiki on this. The US dollar is a calculated chart on Binance. So it's pretty wiki, but yeah, so the preferred long at this point, coming off what's looking like a correction, and then this is not, a little bit impulsive there, but it hasn't broken out. I was quite bullish on this actually a while ago. I think it must have been here, or maybe it was here. Oh yeah, it was probably here, because I was obviously trying to long, because I was thinking we were going to pushing towards a breakout on this, but you know, now months later, we haven't got very far on that, and still under this trend line. But, you know, if you do see this build up, and certainly if this short fails, then I'll probably go back to looking for longs again for a possible bigger move. But yeah, so for now, I've just got a short on, I think, 4-day supply there. So 4-day inside 3-week, not as aggressive as just going on the 3-week, but it is in 4-day demand. But again, just very choppy, unclear triangular price action on this. So, but it would be nice to get a short, again, worth watching for the short, because if the short does then get a big move to break the trend line, you could get the very decent move on the short side. GLM, I've already done. GLQ. So GLQ, so another one that's made a yearly demand, which I've put the line in, but not put the whole grey zone on that, which I probably should put the whole grey zone on, as I remember. Sometimes, because my grey line, I can miss the grey line. So yeah, it's got a 6-month, an annual, and it's got a 3-month inside it down here, a 2-month level there. But in this case has created a monthly supply. So it already had a monthly supply. It's come down, come back up into that. And rejected it, and now it's made a new monthly supply, already made that in December, and it's rejected that already. So something like this, again, worth, while the rejection of the monthly supply hasn't made a lower low, which would be preferable to then look for a lower high, so it's possible this can still run higher inside the monthly supply, this December candle. But again, worth looking for the shorts on there, and then also has a bit of space to demand. So I've gone more aggressive on the entry there, but I think I put a comment. Yeah, so the yearly level is inside it. So that's a possibility. Damn, I was doing so well, and the stream's just gone funny. Not sure whether to continue or whether I should stop, but given I'm almost finished, I'm not really almost finished. Excuse me. I might just try and continue and see, hope for the best. Only one of the streams is gone. If both two go, I'll probably give up. GME. Okay, so yeah, much more conservative long entry down on weekly demand at the base here. This is something that obviously has fallen off the trend line, and that's hence why you see me having made those comments on the previous couple that we've seen with these trend lines, because it's worth looking for that short entry if we are going to fall off the trend lines. This is one that it does have a 3-week supply. It is a new 3-week supply, but because we're still on demand, I have been burnt on, I think, the odd one of these. I was tempted to put a short entry on 3-week supply, but you can see on the 2-week it's already gone up into it. And again, it's just not very clean. So this is the kind of thing that you can look for a short on the 3-week if you want here. But I'd kind of rather have something more concrete than just this wick that we've got on the previous excuse me, on the 24th of January candle. I'd rather have something a little bit more concrete than that. A zone to trade off. But something to keep an eye on if you want to short it. Even if it comes back up into here, like as a daily zone here, and if it came up and took out all these little highs up there on the daily, that one would be a nicer entry, or if you could just watch it coming into this 3-week zone and see. But it's not something I'm overly confident, in case it just has just taken the stops now, has stop hunted underneath here, and it's just going to take off again. And then up here I would look for another short should it revisit up there, or even this daily just below, but I haven't alerted it because it's quite a long way off at the moment. What's the other GME chart? Excuse me. GMT. So we've got, making me nervous about this error message. Just having a look at it quickly. It's a different error to what I normally get, talking about my keyframe frequency. So again, we live in hope that maybe it's not the error about not receiving enough video, which is the one I normally get. So let's keep going and just see if I can get away with it. Okay, so GMT is another one that's going to get a 1-month supply. As 1 month, there's already a 3-week in there. So again, we just look at shorts if it comes back there. Yes, it's possible it's a higher low, but not overly confident given that monthly supply. And I think in this case, yeah, this has got, it's had a 6-month supply, it's gone up inside it, it's rejected, it's made a new 6-month supply or a new monthly supply, it's swing failed that monthly and it's come back down and it's broken this local monthly. So this is one of the ones I'd be more confident of shorting. Obviously the short is better if this makes a lower low first. But if you want to jump in the trend quicker, that's when you want to get the more aggressive entries. Should just say on that, the only thing there is, yeah, so there's a 5-day up inside that. So with these 3-week zones, obviously it's a big zone, so you're looking at what reaction you get, firstly at the level, and secondly if there's anything that's given inside it. Again, we've got another fairly nasty wick on this that makes the lower time frame less clear. GMX. Okay, so we've got a CoinEx chart and a Bybit chart on this. So the long side, excuse me, coughing again. The long side, we've already had a couple of hits on this 3-month zone. And we've obviously potentially now going to drop deeper inside it. The Bybit chart doesn't show that 3-month zone, but I haven't got anything on the long side now because now once it's bounced on this a couple of times, is it a 6-month zone actually? I've called it a 3-month here, but for some reason I've called it a 6-month on the, oh, it is a 6-month. So again, this could just pick up again off here. But after 1, 2, 3 multiple bounces, we still need to see a little bit more. So this is something that could well create a monthly supply. At this I've got it marked as a 2-month level, but it's not, so it's not the cleanest at the moment. And I put an alert for a 3-week supply here, and again we've got that 5-day or 3-day above there. at the top that hasn't been tested. So again, so this is something it is on a 6-month demand. It's possible it can just run from here again if it wants, but it's third, fourth hit. So is it going to find the strength from that? I'm not sure. But the aggressive short would be on, the aggressive short probably actually would be on 3-day supply here. I'm not sure why I put that as 3-day. That might be a, yeah, that's a 4-day in here. So very aggressive short on 4-day supply. I've gone semi-aggressive on the 3-week, and then there's also this 3-day at the top if it does retrace a lot more of the up move. But again, this is the bigger downtrend that could get picked up in this much bigger uptrend. But it's still quite early days. GNO. So GNO is currently in a weekly demand. This is one of the stronger charts actually. Just in that it's higher up in this. So again, like I did have the alert down here for a retest of this 3-month level, or possibly the 3-week inside it. So I actually did, but I've moved it up. I was sort of tossing up. But again, it's very similar to a lot of what I talk about is that we've had an up move, we've had a retracement, we've now tried, we're trying to make a higher high and failed. So are we going to do a zigzag correction? So we've got the up move and then an A, B, C, or are we going to do a triangle correction and then try and get another move, up move based on this? And for that, we just need to see the hit on the level. The possible long there where we are now on this weekly. So obviously it's trying to bounce here now, but this will be fairly aggressive to enter here given we're coming off a monthly supply at the highs. So, but yeah, so again, short on this at 3-week supply, worth watching. And even on this, something on that, maybe it would reject here and at least give a move down into there. That's GNO, GNS. So another one that's looking uglier. We had an annual zone put in, but it had already, so it hasn't rejected this annual zone this year, so it had already rejected this as a 6-month and then the 1-month supply on the December up move, and has made a lower low here. So again, not dissimilar to anything else I've discussed. 3-week supply in here, potentially is going to make a monthly. 3-week supply there, it's already got a bigger 3-week supply above that it's just rejected off. So again, the aggressive short entry on this 3-week here, it's got a 5-day even just below it. This is presuming it gets past this 5-day, and then there's a 5-day up at the top there if it wants to run through and retrace this drop a bit more. Goat. So another one, so it's deep in a 3-day demand at the moment. It's got 2-week supply that's already been tested. So yeah, so it's the same as everything else really. 2-week supply that's already been tested, a 3-week a bit higher inside it. You can see there, which is where my first alert would be, and then my second alert potentially at weekly supply up here. And something like this is again challenging. It has come through a weekly demand, but this would be kind of a cleaner possible entry for a long. But obviously it's trying to bounce off the top and it's just drifting inside it at the moment. So it's possible this gets picked up for a new wave, a bigger wave up. It does have a lot of chop in it. But again, we'll cross that bridge if we come past if we can get past 3-week supply, then great. But for looking for longs here, certainly not now. But again, if you want to watch if there's some consolidation here, if it gives you some new demand or something, if it swing fails this low, and if you get new demand, that's fine. But at the moment, I'm guessing, I think, if you want to long this. Other than that, I've put a weekly demand down here, but it's, the first candle on MEXC. I'm not sure, I've got a feeling this might have history on Dex Screener as well, so it's worth looking at that. Gods. I think this is another one that's just multiple tests on this monthly level. So we had the first one there, and then it came down deeper inside, in fact came through it for a big up move, and then the retest struggled a little bit before again it's just a sideways range on this, and same as everything else, another 3-week supply might create a monthly, I think, at this level. That would be the yeah, so, and also has gone through, so given it's gone through a monthly demand, we need to see where the closes. If this closes with a monthly supply, then great. If it closes above here, then maybe it will flip back the monthly demand, but I guess I can only see, like, I'm not confident of that happening in the next 24 hours, but we'll see. 3-week supply there alerted for a possible short. GOMINING is one of the few very, very strong ones, and you know, as soon as I say that, I said that on a couple the other day, and then they died the next day. So, you know, whether the strong ones are going to remain strong is another matter, or whether they're just having a final push before catching up with everything else. So this does have an annual demand. It's also got a 3 months, so there's possible longs in on this 3 month and on this annual. I think I already got a long on this when it was a 2 month, but as a 3 month it hasn't been tested. And also a new monthly demand here, so I've gone with an aggressive monthly demand, possible long entry. I'll show you the monthly chart just here. So if we get a retest of that, great. Failing that, you can watch the 3 month level or the annual level, and you know, hopefully it won't retrace. This is aggressive, so, and it's not ideal because it's set a bit out from the price. So, you know, also watch if this comes in here a bit, and then obviously possibly that it's going to retrace to the start of the impulse up. So hopefully it won't. Hopefully we'll get some sort of a bounce off this, and then, you know, we just need to see the strength as to whether it's going to get continuation. Yeah, ICE, this is one of the ones that I was hoping would get a aggressive long on that failed dismally. Grass, so it's made a new 2-week supply and it's already rejected that. It's got a 3-week inside it, so I've gone for the short on either 5-day or 3-week. So there's a 5-day supply in here, and it might also make a 5-day supply today. I did have a long entry here on the, what is this, 2-day demand. So it had a little bounce off that, but didn't get very far and is now inside it. So again, you know, it's possible this can hold structure here and just go up, but it's got significant high time frame supply above. And so what you're really looking at, you know, structurally, so what I find, I guess the challenge is, like, structurally, you know, this is, yeah, in an uptrend. Is it just going to continue? But the other part of it is, you know, it's had so much consolidation up here, which basically looks like distribution, that this has now got, so it's got 3-week supply, so it's had at least 3 weeks, if not longer. It just depends what the closes are, of people buying. People went long here, people went long here, people went long here, people went long here. So on the revisit, what you're getting is people who are wanting to get out at break even, and that's why I think it's still worth looking for short. So yes, you know, so we're competing at the moment 3 weeks worth of sellers, at least 3 weeks, like I said, this looks like it might be longer, against buyers on a 2-day, you know, who are like 2 days worth of buying basically, and the people who missed out because they didn't get in on this previous move in November. So, oops, are these 2 days of buying, you know, is this a zone that's strong enough that people think is enough of support to get through these sellers? You know, it seems unlikely, but possible. You know, or again, at least what you might hope is, even if it does get a test, that it's going to give you a rejection of it and then just come back and test this low. So even if it's going to end up with a higher low for an up move, you're still hoping that it's going to give something to tradable before that. So anyway, another kind of dubious 2-week demand down there to long if we do get a drop lower, and then you can look for longs here if this gives you something more, but at the moment, you know, with the 2-day supply. So this is, so while this is an entry that I previously had, what you're looking for is, you know, the reaction, a strong reaction, and then new demand to make and be held. And in this case, it hasn't made any new demand, or has it held it? Maybe it has on the very low time frames. But no, yeah, see that original move, it tried a second move, but didn't manage to build an uptrend, just a sideways range there before coming deeper into the demand. You know, and it does have a 12-hour demand down here, so it's, you know, now tapped a little bit deeper into that zone. So again, it's still possible, but until we see supply break and at least a local uptrend form on the lower time frame, there isn't anything to long. GRIFFAIN or GRIFFAIN? This is GRIFFAIN. So I do have the radium chart on here, which has got the history on it, and I've got an alert set on this daily, and again, it's still trying to hold this zone, but it's building very much distribution and building a lot of supply above, so it's not something I really want to be looking for longs on. I think I did have a long, so on the lower time frame XC chart, this appears as a 2-week, which I think it doesn't on the this chart. Let me see. Oh no, it does appear as a 2-week on this as well. So this is a 2-week demand. When I look at it on the lower time frame, it kind of looks like it wants to dip deeper, so I did have an alert on this daily at the start of this up move, but again, not got very far. Another daily supply up there and a 3-day above, so I've just alerted, I think I've put on this alert that it's either 1 day or the 3-day above if it gets a retest up there. But you know, you can keep an eye on this and see if it does want to hold this zone per this chart. You can see it like this, you know, this is clearly, it's a very clear support level, then it's very clear if this breaks. It's very clear if that breaks, then it's going to drop. And it's got a decent drop, so you can keep an eye on this, and it's very clear if this holds, it's probably going to get a move up, and you know, see what happens at this daily supply up here if it retests. GROK. So this is another one that's going to have a new monthly supply, or already has it. Let me just check. No, it's going to have a new monthly supply. It's an indirect one, it's not ideal, but so again, it's got a nice rejection off the monthly supply up here, and it's come all the way back down as we'd expect to break that low. So that's kind of what you would talk about when you say a monthly supply is playing out. If you remove my drawings, you can see that it's tested here, and it's made a lower low here. Now, if it closes as a swing failure, it's possible that it can now go back up again. But again, we're not in, like, again, if this was in a much stronger zone than just a weekly, I might be more confident of that. But, okay, so put that as a level there. This is tradable as a swing failure if you want, but again, watch for new demand to form. And if it does swing fail here, then it's possible it can swing fail that high. But obviously that's going to be over an extended period of time. So for now, I've got a short entry on 3-week supply, and then there's a weekly and a 5-day up there that could be traded for short if it can run through this zone. With this, oh yeah, I was going to say, so if this, yeah, so this is a monthly supply, but if this closes as swing failure, it will be a weak monthly supply. But again, something to be aware of. And in the bigger picture, yes, we might get a bounce here. Yes, it might be a swing failure. In a perfect world, it would run all the way through and give new demand for an entry. But in this market, which isn't overly strong, again, not overly confident of that happening. I'd rather just see, you know, what reaction we get if we retest this 3-week zone. And then there's a 3-day even at this level, so it might not even get as high as that. It could be too conservative, but we'll see. GRT, and I think on that GROK, I don't think I have anything lower. No. Oh, so hit actually down here, so there is a very dubious daily demand down the bottom here, so I've alerted that for possible long if it gets there, 2-day demand. GRT, another one with a big trend line, which I would love to alert, but it's just a bit challenging. So monthly supply up here, I've gone more conservative on the alert on this again, so we've got monthly demand, it's coming off, so we have a 3-month demand, which is tested in here, so it's coming off a 3-month demand and it's made a new monthly demand. So this is one of the ones that, again, lower high, but, you know, and it didn't quite hit my alert here, is coming off monthly supply. So we need to see, so like I said, we've seen some of these just come all the way back through the monthly demand when they've rejected this monthly supply. But, you know, in some cases these might hold. So a lot of it, I think, is really just timing. So if this monthly demand holds, then we could get another push on this. And given we haven't broken anywhere deeper into the monthly, I haven't alerted the 3-week in this case. I've just stuck with a more conservative on the 5-day up there. And then failing that, you know, if this uptrend is going to continue, we've got a weekly above and a 3-month up there. And then down here again, so this wick I did have an alert for, but it didn't quite hit the monthly level down there. So I put an alert for a possible swing failure of this low into monthly demand if we do drop. And then we do have the risk of this sort of major trend line break. GTC, another one that's looking pretty ugly, but again, so 4 times on this all-time low support, coming off annual supply. Nice rejection there. I don't know if it did do that this year. Okay, so that's a new annual supply. I feel like I'm repeating myself in this video, so I guess some of them, like, maybe I'm just not remembering because I do so many that some of these must look like others because I end up feeling like I'm just saying the same things over and over again. Anyway, so it's made a yearly supply, but it tested it on a lower time frame. It hasn't actually tested it on the year, so if it comes back there, that's a decent short. It's another one similar to what I just said for GROK, I think it was. You know, it could have just swing fell this low. If it swing fells this low, then it's possible it's going to take out this 3-week supply and go higher, and also possible it can take out this high. But again, weekly supply, sorry, weekly annual supply. Potential short at this level. So yeah, there's a few options on this, but the same as what we're looking at on everything else. This is the 3-week. This was quite a nice one actually that I saw, I think, as an example of what can happen, you know, if this decides it is the low, is that you can see here we had a 3-week supply, and so it broke down below, but then, you know, when it came up to test it, it did test it and did reject, but then just didn't make a lower low from there. So if we look on the lower time frame, so you can see that it made a low, it came up and tested that 3-week supply and then came down. In fact, did make a slightly lower low on this. I think I'm looking at the right place, or is it this one? But either way, whether it's this one or this one, you know, it did test and it did come back down. So it's certainly a trade that you can take, even if it doesn't break down to make a lower low. So it's the same here. It's now got a 3-week supply. It's possible it runs through it, but it's more likely that it's going to have some sort of reaction, even if it makes a higher low. So again, we'll see as and when it hits. This is a 5-day up here, and then there's also a 3-day, which is a little bit lower than that. I haven't set the alert up there yet anyway. I'll start setting some of these upper alerts if we start seeing these middle zones break. Yeah, so that's GTC, and no longs on GTC because obviously it's looking like it's going to break all-time low. And G, so it's rejected off monthly supply. It's going to make a new monthly, let me check. Yeah, so it's looking like it's going to make a new monthly supply, and that's what the alert is. So again, a more aggressive alert on this, on new monthly supply, and then I think there's a daily just inside that. So again, it's got a bit of chop through here. You know, the monthly supply is very big, so it could still go all the way up here in monthly supply and still respect monthly supply. Still not on a lower low, so not ideal, but worth watching that monthly level and this daily just at that level for a possible short. Obviously no longs because we're all the way down in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, so that's it. I'm going to stop there because I want to check that the stream is okay and that I'm not talking to myself for the fun of it. And yeah, I hope that's useful. So like I say, on the Gs, I think I'm like overarchingly bearish except for a couple. GOMINING obviously is one of the stronger ones, assuming it doesn't reverse just as soon as I've said that. And then there were a couple in there, I can't remember which ones now, that had that 6-month demand to watch out for, 6-month or 3-month demand. But overwhelmingly, I think these are quite short biased, with the disclaimer that some of them, like G, the very last one I looked at, you know, it is possible that this is just going to find support for another up move. So maybe not that level, but this. But yeah, I really just want to see more, you know, and there are other things to be longing, you know, if this suddenly, you know, these suddenly throw giant moves, having found that as support, then so be it. Then what they will do is make new 4 or 5 day demands there, and that was what I'll be looking for. And the 4 or 5 days have been way more reliable than anything else recently. You know, and as you've seen, like when we have the slow grind down, when it doesn't like making, this is not a good example of the 4 or 5 days, but when it's not giving weekly zones, it has been very much worth looking at the 4 or 5 days, and I've had a lot alerted and a lot have given really good outcomes. Anyway, time to move on to the H's for me, and I hope you have a good day. Is it Thursday today? Yeah, so I was going to say good weekend, but it's not quite the weekend yet. Yeah, we just need to assess some of these zones as they've hit. You see Harry, here's one of the long entries that I had, hard, sorry, and I think Harry, I did have one as well. So a lot of these, you know, I've had a lot of long entries here. Anyway, before I start talking again, I should probably go, you know, we can keep an eye on a lot of these long entries that have already hit anyway. And hopefully I'll be back tomorrow to do the H's.